In this video, we are going to talk about the derivative of sine and cosine function. So let's talk about the derivative of sine and cosine functions, right? So we will talk about what is the differentiation of sine function as well as the cosine function. So the very first thing we want to talk about is dy dx of sine x is cosine x, and the second formula that we have is dy dx of cosine x is equal to minus sine x. Alright? Now, let's consider an example. So, my first example is find d by dx of sine x over 2, right? So as you can see, my function is sine x over 2. So in order to differentiate this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to rewrite this function. And if I rewrite this function, I will write this one as, this is equal to d by dx of, my function is sine x over 2. So I will write 1 over 2 sine x, right? Now, as you can see, 1 over 2 is my constant, right? So I'm going to take that constant out and I will write this is equal to 1 over 2 d by dx of sine x, right? So I'm going to use the formula and I will find the differentiation of sine x. So I will write 1 over 2 and the differentiation of sine x is cosine x, right? Now let's consider another example. My next example is find d by dx of x plus cosine x, right? Now as you can see, my function is x plus cosine x. So what I'm going to do, I am going to distribute d by dx inside the bracket, and if I do that, I will write d by dx of x, right, plus d by dx of cosine x, right? Now I'm going to rewrite this function, and if I rewrite, I will write d by dx of x is basically what? X to the power 1 plus d by dx of cosine x, right? Now, as you can see, I have d by dx of x to the power n. So I'm going to use the power rule, and if I do that, I will write n times x to the power n. So my n is 1. So I will write 1 times x to the power 1 minus 1 plus d by dx of cosine x is minus sine x, right? So let's simplify further, and if I do that, I have 1 times x to the power 1 minus 1 is 0, and then I have positive times negative is negative, and then I have sine x, right? Now x to the power 0 is 1, so I have 1 times 1 minus sine x, right? And we all know that 1 times 1 is 1, right? Minus sine x, right? So we can write d by dx of x plus cosine x is equal to 1 minus sine x, right? All right. Now let's consider another example, and my example is find the d by dx of the derivative of x squared plus cosine x plus sine x, right? So this is my function. Now, we all know that in order to find the derivative of this function, what I'm going to do, I'm going to distribute d by dx inside the bracket. And if I do that, I will write this is equal to d by dx of x squared plus d by dx of cosine x, right, plus d by dx of sine x, right? Now let's find the differentiation of d by dx of x squared, and if I do that, we will write this is equal to, I'm using the power rule, so my derivative for x squared will be what? 2 times x to the power 2 minus 1 plus d by dx of cosine x is negative sine x, right, plus d by dx of sine x is cosine x, right? So let's simplify further, and if we do that, we will write 2 times x to the power 2 minus 1 is basically what? X to the power 1, so I will write 2 x to the power 1, and then positive times negative is negative, so I will write negative sine x plus I have a cosine x, right? Let's simplify further, and if we do that, we will write this is equal to 2 x to the power 1 is x minus sine x plus cosine x, right? So this is the differentiation of this function right here. Now let's consider another example. So my example is we have to find d by dx of 5 over x plus sine x, right? So let's find the differentiation. Now in order to differentiate this function, what I'm going to do, I'm going to distribute d by dx inside the bracket, and if I do that, I will write this is equal to d by dx of 5 over x, right, plus d by dx of sine x, right? Now let's simplify further, and if I do that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep my constant outside, because as you can see 5 is a constant, so that should go out. So I will write 5 d by dx of 1 over x, because if I take 5 outside, I have 1 over left inside the bracket, plus d by dx of sine x is cosine x, right? Now let's simplify further, and if I do that, I will write 1 over x as 5 d by dx of x to the power negative 1, right, plus cosine x. Now let's simplify further, and as you can see, for first term my n is negative 1, so I'm going to differentiate using the power rule. So I will write 5 times negative 1, because this is my n, x to the power n, which is negative 1, minus 1, plus my second term is cosine x. Now let's simplify further, and if I do that, I will write 5 times negative 1 is negative 5 times x to the power negative 1 minus 1 is x to the power negative 2 plus cosine x. Now let's simplify further, and if we do that, we will write negative 5, and I have x to the power negative 2. So as you can see, my exponent is negative 2. So I want to keep it positive. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to write x to the power negative 2 as 1 over x squared, because I can write it like that, plus cosine x. Now let's simplify further, and if I do that, I will multiply negative 5 times 1 is negative 5, and I can write negative 5 as negative 5 over 1. So I already multiplied negative 5 times 1, which is negative 5. Now I need to multiply 1 times x squared is x squared plus cosine x, right? and this is the differentiation of this function right here. Now, so as we can see, we can find the derivative of sine function as well as cosine function, right? So this is how we will find the derivative of any given function which is sine or cosine function.